How everyday citizens solve problems governments can't. Why civil society is America's unsung superpower. This is pure anarchism. Welcome to anarchism, says Sour Patch Lids. Fan of Sour Patch Lids. She used to be the button pusher for Timcast. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I don't know what to say about it. I'm just going to get into it.
Whose responsibility is it to solve America's biggest problems? Some of us look to the president. Some of us look to Congress. Some of us look to our state and local politicians. But there's one thing missing here. If we really want to solve the toughest problems, the best people for the job might be us.
I watched like 2 minutes of this and it got me hyped. So I just wanted to share it. Let's just jump more into it. It's a really good video.
Say what you will about Americans, but we get stuff done. Okay, we know this sounds like a truck commercial, but bear with us.
America.
Throughout our history, there's a clear pattern. When a problem arises, Americans don't necessarily wait for someone else to solve it for them. They roll up their sleeves and do it themselves. In fact, this trait runs so deep that it was noticed as far back as the 1830s, when Alexis de Tocqueville, a French aristocrat touring the US, noted how often he saw what he called associations, groups of Americans who banded together without government assistance to solve civic problems.
That right there is like the purest of pure anarchy, and I love it. I love it so much. That's what we do around here where I live. Like, there's no government intervention, really. They're pretty much just the traffic cops. And, like, if you get caught shoplifting, they're gonna be there to take you to the jail and fine you.
On his visit, Tocqueville noted that Americans of all ages, all conditions, and all minds constantly unite. He noted that Americans use associations to found seminaries, to build inns, to raise churches, to distribute books, and to create hospitals, prisons, and schools. And he noted how different this was from the old world. Everywhere that at the head of a new undertaking you see the government in France and a great lord in England, he wrote, count on it that you perceive an association in the United States. It was the last time in recorded history that a Frenchman said something nice about the US. But also, you can see where he was.
Like, everybody everybody operates on who their leader is. We don't really do that here. We're starting to with everybody kind of banding with Trump, but mostly we don't like our leaders, and we openly hate our leaders here. And our real leaders, the people who we follow and listen to, are like our bosses or our elders or our friends, brothers, sisters, our siblings.
Coming from. America has a long history of precisely these kinds of efforts. Even when we were still a British colony, a group of young men in Philadelphia, led by Benjamin Franklin, created the first subscription-based lending library in the country, the first volunteer firefighting brigade in Pennsylvania, and the nation's first charity hospital. In the 1800s, the country saw the flourishing of mutual aid societies, private charitable organizations dedicated to reducing the suffering of people in need. That would prove especially important to Black Americans fleeing slavery. In fact, just a few years after Tocqueville's visit, it was a mutual aid organization in New York that took in a runaway slave from Maryland named Frederick Douglass. And these kinds of grassroots efforts continued into the 20th century. In the 1930s, 3 recovering alcoholics in Akron, Ohio, began a support group to help people maintain sobriety. Today, we know it as Alcoholics Anonymous, and its work is helping people in approximately 180 countries around the world. All of these initiatives grow out of what's often called civil society, efforts that come not from government or from business, but from everyday Americans banding together to solve problems and improve their communities. Now, it's easy to think of these kinds of efforts as relics of a bygone past when government did less and communities were more closely knit together. But the reality is that these kinds of efforts are still making a huge difference.
This video is getting me hyped, man. I only watched the first 2 minutes. I thought this video was almost over. It felt like it. Like this video is good. Top tier. Makes me feel good to be American.
In American life. For proof, just look at the civil society organizations that are solving problems all around the country today. The founders of a Minnesota nonprofit were worried about troublingly low rates of childhood literacy. Their solution? Creating the Little Free Library, book exchange boxes that allowed children free access to reading material. Not only did they end up creating over 150,000 locations around the world, an effort that has led to more than 400 million books being shared, they also bound communities together.
Like, even in my small community, we started this weird thing. It's probably in a lot of places in the United States, but I haven't heard of it anywhere else, where it's just this book box that they have in just different locations all around the county, where people just leave books, take books, and it's working. It's crazy. It's like it's built on an honor system, and so far it's good. I mean, some people obviously will take book and not leave a book, but some people are just dropping off books and not taking books. So it's just kind of give and go, you know?
72% of the organization's volunteers said they met more of their neighbors because of their Little Free Library. In Illinois, Kirk Allen and John Kraft, two military veterans, were frustrated by the amount of corruption and waste in their state and local government. Their solution? They started an organization called Edgar County Watchdogs, an institution, we should note, that consists of just the two of them in their truck, and began systematically requesting government documents and attending government...
That is a very cool name. I might be biased because of the video game Watch Dogs being somewhat cool. At least somewhat cool. I think it's pretty cool. It ends up being two guys in a truck. It's like some... I don't know. That's cool. That's like a movie.
Meetings to ferret out abuses of taxpayer money. The result? They've been responsible for the removal of 425 corrupt officials from public office. And they've now taught over 1,000 other...
I love to see it when bureaucrats have to get forcibly kicked out of their office positions.
Watchdogs how to apply these techniques in their own communities. In Florida, Megan Rose noticed that the state's foster care system was overwhelmed with cases. And she also noticed that the system was often doing a disservice to families, creating prolonged separations between parents and children when all the parents really needed was a little time to get back on their feet. Her solution? She started a nonprofit called Better Together, which allowed children to get temporary care in a loving home, while also helping their parents find jobs, and still allowing them to visit their kids. And the results speak for themselves. Since the program began in 2015, it's provided temporary homes for more than 7,000 Florida children. And in 98% of cases, those kids never had to enter the foster care system. The program has been so successful that the state of Florida even recommends many of the cases that might otherwise go to the foster care system to Better Together instead. And that demonstrates precisely why civil society efforts can be so valuable. They're not just about taking care of problems government isn't addressing. They're also about taking care of problems that government simply isn't able to address. Because while government may be good at writing checks or filling potholes, what it can't replace is the human connections that make communities thrive. Notice it when kids don't have enough books to read, comforting an addict by telling him that you've been there too, helping down on their luck families get back on their feet. These things can only be accomplished by people. People who care. People who love their community and want to make it better. Most of us will never be president.
Yeah, that's why I just don't understand people who hate their communities and want to destroy everything. Like, well, what are you doing? You're just wanting to destroy, just to destroy because you're angry? I don't know. We got some good stuff going here. Stop trying to wreck it.
President or a member of Congress. We won't be Ben Franklin or a heroic abolitionist, but we don't have to be. Whether it's something as large as starting an organization or something as modest as just adding a book to a little free library, all of us are capable of making the world a little bit better than it was the day before. All of us have the power to improve our communities. All of us have some special expertise we can use to serve others. All of us have compassion, care, and kindness to spare. And when we band together and put those tools to use in civil society, there's virtually no limit to what we can accomplish. I mean, do it really well, and you might even get a compliment from a Frenchman.
That was 10 out of 10 video. It basically explains like the true absolute anarchism, and I love it. That's the kind of stuff I'm into. Is just community that naturally comes together out of just love for humanity and the ability to want to move forward into the future. That is my mission, to help build something that'll help humanity go into the future, even if it's something stupid, like a little YouTube channel here that I got going.